And welcome back to the simple channel. Now this time, mm, we're gonna continue to the courtroom, I think. So let's watch what will happen next.
Throughout his career, Stefan Montrose has continually shone a light on the system's indifference to its most vulnerable citizens. Tuesday afternoon, the system struck back.
We know what the columns are saying, Miss Jamison. We intend to prove that Dr. Montrose is guilty as charged.
Manslaughter with gross negligence?
In addition to one count of falsification of records with intent to deceive.
I'm afraid you won't get the chance to present those records in court. I'm filing a motion to suppress. Paperwork went through the day before the subpoena was served. Good Shepherd is no longer run by the Archdiocese of New York. It's now an entirely private agency, administered through Dr. Montrose's holding company, New Directions.
So you propose to throw out the evidence because we put the wrong address on the subpoena? Of all the underhanded ploys.
The argument is technically correct. Improper service of a subpoena invalidates admissibility. The court finds for the motion.
Fine. We'll proceed without it.
Dang, dang.
Dr. Montrose, we've heard in graphic detail about the final days of Aaron Bauer. It's natural to feel pity and perhaps even outrage over the manner in which he died. So tell the court, are you in fact guilty of gross negligence?
No, I am not.
Let me read you a quote. Neglect is built into our current welfare system. The client is a mere asset to be kept or traded as it benefits the agency.
You're reading to me from my own book, The Empty High Chair, published last spring. My agency is different.
Indeed, Good Shepherd is distinguished for treating its clients with dignity, as individuals with needs. Isn't that right?
Objection!
What? Isn't that right? I think leading.
Leading. Defense is giving a speech for her client.
Sustained. Let's concentrate on the facts of this case, shall we?
Were you personally involved in the case of Aaron Bauer?
I involve myself personally in every one of my cases, and this was especially true with respect to Aaron.
How so?
When the Bowers first came to my attention, Aaron had been taken into state custody and shut away inside City Youth Home. I know that institution well. I spent my own formative years there. Nobody deserves to go to City Youth Home. Nobody.
And yet, despite your personal involvement in this case, Aaron Bauer was killed. How do you explain this?
One word: drugs. First it was the crack epidemic. Now, just as that's beginning to subside, an even worse plague is sweeping through New York. It's a plague that destroys mostly those on the margins, so it's easy for the rest of us to ignore.
Do you have some ideas for addressing this problem?
Objection!
Misleading the jury as a impacts. I think misleading the jury? No, of course not. I think immaterial.
Immaterial. The defendant is changing the subject.
Sustained. Please strike that last statement from the testimony. New York City is not on trial here.
Jenna Bauer lapsed back into addiction, unbeknownst to you, although your caseworker visited her as recently as Christmas Day.
I'm afraid that's correct. In spite of our vigilance, in spite of intensive therapy, the siren call of crystal meth proved too much for her. And once she began using again, she quickly became a danger to her son.
How did she manage to pull the wool over your eyes?
It's one of the most insidious aspects of the syndrome. I've seen it many times. The addict puts up a false front of normalcy, a front that can fool even a trained observer.
Observer. I don't think so. I think,
One last question.
yeah.
Has this tragedy caused you to re-examine your practice?
Naturally, we're thoroughly reviewing our procedures. We exist to serve our clients. The death of one impoverishes us all.
Of course. Thank you, Dr. Montrose. Your witness, Mr. McCoy.
This is really tough because there's no, what should I say? The transcript is empty. We cannot see anything, any text except transcript. The transcript doesn't contain anything. I don't know why.
Dr. Montrose.
Dr. Montrose. Endangered Errand Book Visitation Guidelines and Montrose's View. A book? I think Endangered Errand?
Your agency advocated for Jenna Bauer in her bid to regain custody of her son, Aaron. In retrospect, was this in Aaron's best interest?
Considering his fate, the answer has to be no. But hindsight is always 20/20.
At the time, you believed the opposite to be self-evident, right? Every mother deserves to retain the custody of her children?
We weighed the pros and cons of Jenna Bauer's case, and we came to the conclusion that she deserved a second chance. Perhaps if we'd had more facts at our disposal, we would have agreed with the city's decision.
Is this testimony consistent with Dr. Montrose? I don't think so. Yeah. No, I don't think so. Yeah. The alternative for error was City Youth Home and Montrose stated that nobody deserved to go there. Nobody.
In this case, the alternative was placing Aaron in City Youth Home. You simply didn't want him there. Dr. Montrose, have you ever signed off on moving a child from his parents' custody into the institutional foster care system?
No.
No.
State guidelines for social welfare agencies mandate one home visit per month at the very least.
You needn't lecture me. I'm well acquainted with state guidelines.
Do you follow them?
Yes, Mr. McCoy. We follow the state guidelines meticulously.
Good Shepherd didn't have its own guidelines?
No.
But why? Montrose told detectives that his agency makes its own guidelines. Yeah, I think this one.
Didn't you tell the detectives that Good Shepherd makes its own guidelines?
I don't recall saying anything of the sort.
Think back, Dr. Montrose. It was during the same interview in which you refused to turn over Aaron Bauer's case files. In clear violation of standard procedure...
Objection, immaterial.
It goes to credibility, Your Honor.
Overruled.
I won't deny that our agency operates according to unique procedures, but if anything, our guidelines are more comprehensive than the state's.
Bauer apartment and visitation before.
You've heard Detective Curtis's account of what he found in Jenna Bauer's apartment, and you've seen the pictures.
Indeed I have. What can I say? Appalling. I had no idea until this very morning when my counsel showed me the pictures.
Is it possible that Dr. Montrose has no idea of the state of the Bauer apartment before now? No, I don't think so. Caseworker called Montrose from the apartment. I think this one.
We know your caseworker, Ms. Schuyler, briefed you after Mrs. Bauer's body was discovered.
Well, yes, of course, but it takes a picture to really communicate the situation.
You're the expert, Dr. Montrose. Do you think it's possible for conditions to degenerate that rapidly in a mere 8 days?
It's possible, I suppose. But I have to admit, if I were an outside observer, I'd find it a difficult story to swallow. Indeed, if it weren't for my faith in my employer, Miss Schuyler, I'd be inclined to think it was a story.
Really? No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, I think that's all for now. Thank you for watching and see you later. I think we're still going to be